Let's learn some Torah. This week we've been reading Parshat VAERA, and it is chock full of details, including plagues and pharaohs and Israelites and God. It tells a story of our liberation. Of course, all of this is in parts at the beginning of the book of Exodus. Here we find the Israelites unable to even internalize the language of redemption when Moses brings the message from God. Pharaoh won't hear it. Moses doesn't believe he can do it. Pharaoh's heart is hardened, and then God reinforces that stubborn cruelty. All of it requires so much attention and so much processing. I want to look at one part of this parsha, and you might know it because whenever we come to Pesach, to Passover, and we have the 4 cups, each cup of wine or grape juice is connected to a language in the Torah in this week's parsha for redemption. I want to read the Hebrew in its entirety. It's 3 verses, then translate it, and then make a comment about it. This is chapter 6 of Exodus, verses 5 through 7. V'gam ani shamati et na'akat b'nei Yisrael, asher Mitzrayim ma'avidim otam, va'ezkor et briti. Lachein emor livnei Yisrael ani Adonai, והוצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים, והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם, וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה ובשפטים גדולים, ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם, והייתי לכם לאלוהים. וידעתם כי אני אדוני אלוהיכם, המוציא אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים. Here's the translation. It's the JPS 2006 translation, available on Sefaria. I have now heard the moaning of the Israelites because the Egyptians are holding them in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Say therefore to the Israelite people, I am God. I will free you from the labors of Egyptians and deliver you from their bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and through extraordinary chastisements. And I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God. And you shall know that I, Adonai, am your God, who freed you from the labors of the Egyptians. Now, there are so many parts of this that we could talk about, and for generations and millennia we have. We could talk about God now remembers the covenant. God now hears the groaning. We've been enslaved for hundreds of years. How intense to consider how long slavery lasted and how long degradation continues after slavery is formally ended, as we well know here in the United States, as we grapple with the ongoing racial injustice in our country's culture and law. But in this parsha, in these verses, there are languages of redemption, 4 languages that each relate to a different stage of becoming free. The Hebrew is vehotzeti, I will bring you out, vehitzalti, I will save you, vega'alti, I will redeem you, velakachti, and I will claim you. I will take you. That last one is where I wanted to start, vilakachti. If I am free, what is that? Why is the 4th stage vilakachti, and I will take you to me? On the one hand, it's intimacy. On the other hand, freedom is freedom, you would assume. As the famous song Bobby McGee says, right? Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Freedom is this wandering hefkerut, as they say in Hebrew, ownerlessness, but that's not the freedom that we achieve through this story, through our family's journey, through redemption, through Yetziat Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt. We didn't become free to be aimless. We became free to become purposeful, and that means following God, serving God by serving God's world, serving God's image, which means all people. We don't live lives that are unfettered. We live lives that are obligated. It's a beautiful way to live. Beautiful. And the stages of redemption, vehotzeti, I will take you out. We need to be brought out of our context. Something needs to change. The system needs to break. We can't stay where we are and how we are and call that freedom. Vehotzeti, something must change. Vehitzalti, I will save you, which is another way of saying, We in positions of privilege must use it on behalf of those who are more vulnerable, because ultimately we want vulnerability to end. But in order for that to happen, those whose voices are heard need to ally ourselves with those whose voices are not. V'hotzeti, circumstance must change. V'hitzalti, use your privilege on behalf of someone else. V'ga'alti, says God, I will redeem you. It's another way of saying show up. V'lakachti, and I will claim you to be purposeful, a beautiful kind of freedom that allows us to relate to each other. But I want to go deeper than that for a second. The deeper part of that is the Hasidic notion that the redemption actually began before God did anything. If you look closely at the verses we read, I'll read the English one more time. I have now heard the moaning of the Israelites. The first stage of redemption is calling out. This need not be. I am more worthy than this circumstance. I deserve redemption and freedom. I am your child, God. I am an image of God who deserves recognition, whose voice should be heard. We were the ones, the Israelites were the ones, in the time of the Torah, who were enslaved and vulnerable, and we did not go gently. It was hundreds of years of degradation, and yes, the kotzer ruach, the constricted spirit, that made it impossible to hear God, made it impossible to hear Moshe's language of hope. That needed to shatter too, but that can't really only be shattered from the outside. It must be shattered from the inside. And so I want to bless us in not such a simple way, friends. Look within at the parts of our own souls that feel locked up. It's fair. The world can be very harsh. And sometimes it takes shining friends, images of hope, a reminder from the outside. But the deepest kind of freedom is the one that begins with a stirring inside our souls. I deserve better than this. Not I am entitled and I'm better than someone else. But when I feel constricted, when I feel trapped, when I feel held back, unheard, you don't need to do anything to be worthy of being heard. You are worthy of being heard. Your voice matters. Your heart matters. Your eyes are beautiful. Your soul is sparkling. You are an image of God. Knowing that, naming that, that's what the Israelites somehow did even after hundreds of years of enslavement. Freedom's going to come. A change is going to come. Our freedom songs, every people's freedom songs, every recognition that it is a glimmer of divine in our eyes, that we don't have to do anything to earn, we already are children of God. Every people, every person. The first language of redemption is not from the outside. The first language of redemption is from the inside. I'm yours, God. Don't you see me? Don't you remember? Because it is somehow the call of the Israelites' pain that gets God's attention one more time. I'm not quite sure how to understand God not having already been paying attention in this way. I don't know how to reconcile a loving, good, powerful God with human degradation of any kind. It's a different conversation. It's all related. It's a different conversation. But how beautiful it is to know that about ourselves too. So, one more time, friends. Hand on heart. You are so beautiful. And you don't need to do anything to be it. You are exactly that beautiful thing you were meant to be. And sometimes when it's hard to remember that, put your hand on your heart. The divine is beating right within you. It's pulsing. You are beautiful. The languages of freedom come next. How lucky we are. Let's go into a good day, friends. We'll learn together again tomorrow. All right, friends. See you tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.